Welcome to It's Possible podcast. Today is an amazing day again. We are here with me, Bryan. Bryan, just take a minute to introduce yourself and then tell the people what you have for them.
Yes. Thank you for having me on the show. First of all, it's possible podcast. Thank you definitely for being here. Yeah, this is Big B the broker, man. I'm a freight broker. Been in the transportation industry for over 20 years, and this is what we doing. We on the freight broker side, and just here to drop some gems on how it's possible to make it
Yeah.
in this side of the industry.
All right. So you want to tell me it's possible for anyone to be in the brokerage industry?
Yes, sir. Yep, because it's definitely possible.
Hey.
This is an industry that's somewhat looked over when people go to get into transportation. A lot of folks look to start maybe with getting a truck or dispatching, but most folks don't think about getting into it from the freight broker position,
Mm-hmm.
which is a position of authority in the game. It's really a demanding role to be a freight broker. I mean, if you think about it, and if you look, just research it a little bit, this is a $16 billion annual industry just in the United States.
Hold on. Just a moment, Bryan. You're dropping the money yet, man. What is freight brokerage? First of all.
Okay, so let's go. So freight brokerage is an individual, a company that goes to the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. That's the FMCSA. That's the government association that governs over transportation and how products get moved. So, as a company, you go to the FMCSA and you get your authority from them to go to shippers. Say you go to Walmart as a big shipper, and Walmart has thousands of loads that they need to move. So you go to them and you make a connection with Walmart. Walmart gives you, say, 100 loads. I need you to move these 100 loads. Now you take them as the middleman, as the freight broker, and you
Mm-hmm.
go and you vet and you find reliable trucks that match with that load type, and you pair them together and you make the difference. So say that Walmart pays you $100 per load and you can pay the truck $80 per load, you make $20 off of each load. So that's the whole middleman freight broker process in a nutshell, where big shippers use a middleman to find the trucks for all the loads that they have.
Mm. Okay. So, what is the difference between a freight broker and a dispatcher?
That's a great question. That is a great question because a lot of people sometimes pair them together and sometimes they get them confused thinking that they're the same thing, but they're
Yeah.
actually two different roles, two different positions. So I'm going to start with the dispatcher first.
Okay.
This a dispatcher essentially works for a truck driver. So say you have your own truck and you're out on the road and picking up loads and stuff like that, but you need someone back office to help you to find your loads to keep your truck moving.
Mm-hmm.
That's what a dispatcher does. So a dispatcher usually contacts freight brokers who have the loads to get loads from them to secure for that trucking company that they're working for. And but a freight broker goes directly to the manufacturers.
Mm.
So a freight broker works, say, for Walmart, but the dispatcher works for the trucking company.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it's a big difference. A dispatcher does not need an authority. They don't need anything from the federal motor carrier to be a dispatcher. It's a private service and it's a low cost startup, and there's really no regulations around it right now. Not many regulations. So, but as a freight broker, you are heavily regulated, and but you do have that leverage where you can go directly to the shipper. So instead of
Mm.
you working for the truck driver, you're working for Target, you're working for Walmart, Costco, and big shippers like that.
Got you. So you can make more money as a freight broker than a dispatcher.
Yes, you can, because so your bandwidth of what you can do and the amount of loads that you can cover. So as a dispatcher, you have to negotiate that percentage of whatever that truck driver is willing to pay you off of the work that you produce for him. So you have
Hmm.
to book him or her for you. So you have to book good loads for that truck so that that truck driver want to still use your services as a dispatcher. But as a freight broker, I'm going to create a relationship with shippers that need 20 loads moved in over the course of 2 days. And as a dispatcher, you're actually searching to find the loads that I have as a freight broker.
Got you. So the
So
freight broker would be the like a wholesaler
the freight broker is the plug. That's
is
what
the
the freight
plot.
broker is.
Okay.
The freight broker is the plug because, I mean, and I don't know if I would call it wholesaler, but more of a middleman. So
Hmm.
where the reason why, one of the reasons why freight brokers exist, because if you think of those big companies, those big shippers, they have so many products and so many loads moving back and forth, they don't really have the time to vet and find
Hmm.
all of these trucks to move all of these loads. So that's the reason for a freight broker, because a freight broker is essentially capacity. They fulfill capacity and trucks for these big shippers, even not just only big shippers, but small shippers too. Whenever there's, if it's a company that has freight moving in any type of frequency, any type of regular movement of freight, and they don't have their own trucks, then they usually look for some type of outside source to help them to move their freight.
Mm.
So
Gotcha.
yeah, freight brokers are the plug because they go straight to the manufacturer.
Yeah.
And we're getting the work from, say, if you think of products like Apple. Apple is not a trucking company, but Apple has to move all of their products. So it's the same with, say, Kellogg's, or when you think of food and different type of products and things like that, they specialize in creating the food product, but they don't necessarily specialize in logistics and moving the
Hmm.
food product. So that's where they'll create it and make bundle, orders and palletize it and everything. And then they'll reach out to a freight broker and say, I need 20 of these pallets to go here. And they just have a truck show up. So
Hmm.
it's a much easier process when you think of it, because for them, because they're constantly moving all of these loads.
Yeah.
They're moving so many loads, and every day, if they had to stop and try to find 100 trucks, that would really slow
It's
down
a
their
lot of
process.
work.
That would be a lot of work.
Yeah. But how do they know you exist?
So there's a few different ways for the smaller freight brokerages. You reach out to them. Really,
Okay.
you're reaching out to them. It's instead of for us and my company, instead of calling it cold outreach, I try to make it warm outreach, because before I reach out to any customer, I'm doing research.
Hmm.
I'm doing research on the company, research on the customer, because not every shipper is my customer.
Mm.
So just not everyone fits the profile. As a freight brokerage, you should, and that as a company, you should always have a customer, an ideal avatar of your customer. And not everyone fits that avatar for us. So we make sure we do our research and things before we reach out to customers. But there's multiple different ways how we go about reaching out to them. One is, of course,
Hmm.
is by calling, and then we go through email, we go through social media. There's even walk-ins. So there's a
Hmm.
number of different ways how we go about connecting with our customers.
Okay. So that's the work. Everything that has money has work. So you got to be willing to do the work.
Yes, absolutely. That is definitely the work of it. Now, in the beginning, say for us when we were first getting started, I realized because I'm a systems guy. I come from the other side where I was in logistics. I was a manager. So I was actually on the other side, and I work with freight brokers sometimes
Mm-hmm.
to move some of my loads as a logistics manager. So I understood, I understand that side. And the work for us approaching any shipper is knowing that, for one, they already have somebody because they've already been operating their business.
Yes.
You're approaching them as somebody new to them. They're not new to what they've been doing.
Yeah,
They've been moving their
that's
loads
right.
and they've been using somebody already. So you have to give me a good reason for me to want to even shake up or stir up what I have already going on.
Mm-hmm.
Because for a logistics manager, they have, others that they have to make sure that they do their job for. Like I know I had to make sure I did a good job as a logistics manager. So I was less willing to risk working with new companies. So that's where it is work for us because we understand that we have to get through that initial rejection
Mm-hmm.
because we're going to get it. We know we're going to get it, and that's why it's so good to be on It's Possible podcast
It's
because
possible.
that is a part of it. Like we go through, and it's a part of sales, you know. And I realized that before we started the company because I don't come from sales. I come from
Mm.
operations. So I knew
Yeah,
I was taking a leap. And I was saying to myself, this is going to be difficult, but it's possible.
it's possible.
That's what I
Let's go back a
it's
little bit
possible.
because
So,
we're
but I
moving.
knew it was going to be difficult. I
Yeah,
knew it would be difficult.
let's go back a little bit because we're moving a little fast now. Sharing a
Yep.
lot of information. So this is what you do, and you're making money doing this, right?
Yeah, this is what I do to feed my family. Like
Yeah.
this is so before we started the company, I was like I said, I was a logistics manager. I was actually a terminal manager working for a company, and we had this Amazon contract where we moved about I'd say about 70 to 80 box trucks per night
Wow.
with this customer. And while I was with them, I started looking into like what business I could get started in and looking at trucking, and I was like, well, if I leave my current job to go get a truck with the numbers that I was putting together, I'm like, I'd actually be taking a loss.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I got 5 kids and we got all, we got a couple things going on. I can't really afford to take that loss. So I kept looking and I was researching and I stumbled upon freight brokerage. And while I was working there at that company, I started the freight brokerage. But I started it in my mind already knowing that it was going to be a process. It wasn't going to be something
Hmm.
that was going to just take off right away. Because I did research and I realized that it was sales. And I'm like, I have to learn
Yeah.
sales.
Yeah.
And I never actually been a freight broker before. I've
Mm.
been in transportation, like I've been a trucker, I've been a logistics manager, I've been all these different things, but I've never been a freight broker.
Yeah.
So I knew it was going to take time. But while I was working there, I started the company and we started to get a little bit of traction and things started picking up a little bit. And so that was January of 2021 when we started the company.
Hmm.
Um, we didn't actually start operating until around June of 2021. And in November, I got laid off from the job.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and of course, I had no plans of getting laid off.
Yeah.
My plan was to stay there and to build the company slowly and be able to still have, that income
Hmm.
for my family and things that was going on. But that was not the plan.
Hmm.
That was not the plan. I got laid off. We were actually in the middle of purchasing a brand new house, and I had my income taken right away.
Hmm.
So
That's
yeah,
scary.
this was very scary. This
Mm.
is very, very scary. At that point, I decided to stand on faith, and I did not look for another job. I said I'm gonna take this and what I have right now with the momentum that I have from the business and run with it.
Okay.
And that was with 5 kids. We were in between homes, so you know, if things didn't go well for us, we could have been homeless.
Wow.
Yeah, so it
Yo,
was
man, that's powerful. So, how much money did you make in the first year, from
so
June to
fir-
December 2021?
from June to December.
Yeah.
So from June to December, we made about I'd say about it was a pretty penny. It was probably around, well, this is what I'll say. First year in business, first
Hmm.
full year in business, we did 1.2 million.
First full year in business, 1.2
First full year in
million.
business. So from
Wow.
June to June, we did 1.2 million because
Wow.
we started the business January, but we didn't start operating until
Yeah.
June. So June to June, we did 1.2 million, and I could not believe it. I could not
Wow.
believe it.
But
I
it took off, man, fast.
Yes, it did, and I'm telling you, my head was down. I didn't even know that it was happening because
Yeah.
in when I in being in it, the accountant, the dispatcher, the salesperson, like you playing
Hmm.
every role, and I've never ran a business before. This is my first time ever even running a
You learn
business.
as you go.
And yeah, it was learn as you go. And it just, I tapped into some of the old relationships that I had, was able to get with the right customers
Hmm.
and provide the right service based off of the knowledge that I had from being in the industry. And one thing, I've always been is, I'm a big quality control guy, and everything I do, I'm really big on value. So, you know,
Okay.
I I started in logistics as a laborer, like unloading trucks and like at the bottom, literally at the bottom. And
Mm.
even in those roles, I always was appreciative, and I always try to provide as much value as possible. So
That's good.
that was my whole thing. And I just carried that with me. And so when I started connecting with shippers, my whole thing, I'm just super genuine, and I'm about providing value.
That's powerful. So, first year in business, $1.2 million. Not every business can do that.
And it's something else because I guess because I've been through it, I don't really give it a whole lot of credit, but I just recently looked up stats, and it's like this is actually a 1% thing. When we are actually in the 1%, and I didn't even realize that
Really.
until a few months ago.
So not
That
not everybody who goes ahead and, oh man, Bryan made 1.2 million in first year. Let me go ahead and start my free brokerage too, so I can make the same thing. May
well,
not
here's the
happen for
thing.
everybody.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. So if you really look at my situation and what I had going on, no, it's not. Everybody's situation is not going to be the same.
Hmm.
Everybody's situation is definitely not going to
Yeah.
be the same. Everybody is not going to be in a position where they got laid off from their last 4 jobs. Everybody is not going to be in a position where they got 5 kids and a wife and that pressure of providing. Everybody's not going to be in that position. Everybody's not going to be in a position where they didn't have no sales experience. There's not going to be, people in that position that's going to go
Yeah.
and dive into the freight brokerage. So it's many things that was against me in this situation that could have stopped me from being successful. And I'm not a unicorn. I don't feel like I'm a unicorn. I just felt pressure to
Mm.
perform. And I had
Hmm.
to. That was it was what else was I going to do? And this is what has been my track record over my life. I've been put in pressured situations and I've had to perform. And the only thing I can do is take the challenge head on and go forward.
Yeah.
And one big challenge for me was, I think, just think, we were in the first couple months of starting this business, and my salary was 125,000 a year at the company
Mm.
where I was working at, and to have that taken away from you with
Man.
everything that you have, the bills and all that going on,
Yeah.
it's all about what you want to do and what you willing to do, because it's a lot of different things that could have happened, and it's a lot of different things I could have done. I could have went and got look for another job, but I took the difficult route.
Here is what I think. I think the pressure, well, pressure is what pushes people to do things they wouldn't do otherwise. So that means if someone is comfortable or feeling comfortable where they are, they may not do the same or make the same effort that you made.
That's exactly right. That is
Yeah.
exactly right. That's exactly right. And I think that's true for most situations in life. Like, when you are comfortable, you pretty much gonna be comfortable,
Yeah. You're
and
done.
you're not gonna sometimes you're not gonna push yourself to do more. But when
Yeah.
I had this conversation with my kids because they growing up different from how we grew up. Like me and my wife, we both actually come from like people talk about they came from nothing. Like me and my wife, we both come from struggle.
From
It's
what?
from struggle. We
Okay.
both come from struggle. Like, I
What do you
didn't
call
grow up with my
struggle?
mom. I didn't grow up with my mom or my dad.
Mm.
I mean, I grew up, around drugs and drug dealers and killing and that's what I grew up around. And that's what my wife grew up around too. We
Hmm.
don't know, like we didn't grow up around she didn't have both her parents in the house with her. And so we grew up not really even understanding conflict resolution or anything like that. And then we
Wow.
got paired together. So just think of that dynamic of two people coming both from rough backgrounds. So one thing that we both wanted from a distance before even knowing each other, but from our experience and our families was we wanted to do something different. We wanted our
Mm.
family to be different. This was years before we even met each other because I grew up without my mom or my dad. So
Man.
what I wanted in the household with my kids is their mom and their dad. I wanted different from what I had.
That's
And
powerful. So were you in foster care or with
no,
other
I grew up with
parents?
my great aunt. So
Mm.
my father, he was in the streets and he was out there, and my mother was in jail.
Wow.
So my mother was locked up for 12 years as I was growing up.
Man.
Yeah. So
This
when you talk about like, people being in a situation and what they can and what they can't do, it's all on you, really. Like, if you comfortable in your position, then it's going to be less likely that you're going to push yourself to do stuff. But for me, all my life, I've been faced with adversity.
and this is what
And
makes you strong.
exactly, this is what makes
But
me strong.
it's also I've seen this too, because some people would use the same story to say because of this I am like that or in the negative side. But
Yes, and
somebody else would use the same story to say I don't want to see that in my life and I don't want this for my kids, which is what you did.
so true, because that was decision I had to make. Like,
Yeah.
over the years, and I took, you know, I so I was surrounded. Think of that environment. I actually grew up in these rough environments. My wife grew up in these rough environments, and all that was around us was negativity. Everything that
Hmm.
was around us was negativity. And to fight through that, you know, it's not easy to fight through because you succumb to your environment at some point.
Yeah.
So yes, I went and I did things that I shouldn't have did, and I got locked up, and I went down those wrong paths. But
Hmm.
then I was able to. One thing that I heard a wise man say is, wise men learn from others and um,
Experiences.
ex- from others' experiences. So I watched my older family members, that was these big time drug dealers, go down behind Fed charges and take 10 years and 15 years. And I was out there trying to do the same thing, trying to
Mm.
do the same thing. And seeing them fall and knowing that that was not what I wanted with
That's
my
not the
life.
way.
That was not what I wanted with my life, to give
Hmm.
away those years. So, to fight through that and, just I could have picked, like I said, all them times, I could have picked that path and I could have stayed on that path. And I could have said that, all this stuff that been stacked against me,
Hmm.
why should I keep on trying?
Yeah.
I
And
had many
use this
times
as
where
an
I was,
excuse.
why, yeah, used it. And here's the thing. I watched my family members and I watched how that excuse gets used. And I just was like, I'm not about to do the same thing.
Hmm.
I'm not going to do
That's
the same
powerful,
thing.
man. There will always be one that will work to break the chain.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's something else now because, our family's still in it. Like, our families are still in it. So when I say we came from the struggle, our families are still in the struggle. And when I say still in the struggle, like, my wife and I was just having a conversation with our kids the other day about, why we don't go to other family members' houses like that. Because it's not many family members that have houses.
Mm.
Like I had to actually sit and think to myself, like, who has a house
Man.
on both sides of our family? Like if we done moved and we done moved to, different environments that's more suitable for us to raise our kids. So we think like if we go back around the way, ain't nobody even around there with no house.
Bro, say louder, man. Speak louder, man. Say somebody got to hear this, you
Yeah,
know?
man. It's been one that, you just gotta keep fighting. That's the thing. You gotta keep fighting because there's
Wow.
gonna be so many things that's gonna come up against you. And that's from life to business and like being a freight broker. Like it's so much that comes up against you that can make you doubt yourself
Yeah.
and make you take the easier route,
Wow.
and make you feel like you can't do it. But what you have to do is you have to say to yourself that it's possible.
It
And
is,
I'm
man.
telling you, it's been like faith has carried us to some places that, it's just, I can only just, be thankful because it's been some times where it's been so rough and like
Hmm.
we've and because we've then kept that faith and just remain positive
Yeah.
and not let it take us to a negative place and not use excuses and just say I know where I'm going and I'm just going to keep going in this direction. That's what's been carrying us. And
Man,
I'm telling you, it's been amazing.
your story is powerful, man. You know how many kids on the street right now trying to figure out what to do with their lives, you know? So your story needs to be heard. Now more people need to listen to what you've got to say because this is what people need to hear, right? Because sometimes they're truly looking for somebody they can relate to that made it through, but they can't find someone. But when they listen to you, they listen to where you came from and what you're doing now, man. It's really powerful.
And just to speak to what's going on now, this is another area where us as people that look like me and you, I'm just going, and I know we speaking to a bigger audience with the viewers that's going to be watching this, but when we think about the freight brokerage industry and this being a $16 billion industry annually, us as African Americans, we hold 5% of the market
Wow.
share. 5%.
5%.
So if you're thinking about this, yes, this is difficult.
So tell me why you decided to, maybe that's why you decided to take some other people with you on this journey to teach more
Absolutely.
people.
Absolutely. Because the reason, so I stayed in this shell, just to be honest with you. Like starting this business, something new for me. I was in this shell of solopreneurship where I'm just doing things by myself, trying to provide for my family.
Hmm.
And that's it. That's, my focus. And as we start to grow and the business starts to grow and we start to do things that I really could not imagine was possible, it's literally changed our life, right? Like
Yeah.
right in front of me in a short period of time, a very short period of time. And I'm thinking to myself, well, actually, I have to give all credit to my wife because my wife's like, you should start sharing this information because I've always had like in over the years I've been in management positions, so I've had to train and I've had to teach people.
Hmm.
So I've always been somewhat of an instructor or a teacher in some type of a role, leader. So my wife's like, you really could help some people with learning this industry. And I'm like, I was kind of hesitant about it, mainly because the industry and everybody's selling courses and all this type of stuff. So I was hesitant about it. But one thing that helped me being in the morning meetup, really, and I think Bryn had mentioned it before when she said, you don't put the value on your information like others because it's regular information for you. Like it, so it's regular for you,
Yeah,
so it's not a big deal for you. And this valuable information. But if you were to give that information to somebody else, it holds so much value because they don't know what you know. They may not know what
that's
you know.
true. Yes, and that's true because I remember I have a couple guys. They paid a lot of money. I don't know if they bought some courses, whatever, but they wanted to start a company just like that. So, but they ended up doing nothing because it was not easy for them to find the loads. I think they didn't know how to get the loads, so they
Hmm.
stopped.
Yeah,
Right. So that's exactly what you're saying. You know it. For you, it's normal information, but for somebody else who don't know, so that's the
right.
everything for them.
Right. And then I start feeling that how selfish like once I understood that comment, once I heard that comment, which I had never heard before,
Mhm.
of the information that you hold is more valuable to somebody else that you're not putting a whole bunch of value on it.
Yeah,
You're not putting the value
that's
on it because
true.
you know it. But once it comes out of your mouth and you speak it to somebody else, and I started doing that, and I started I started receiving that from them, how much value they got in
Mm.
just the information I gave. I was like, wow. And it blew me away because
Yeah,
of the response that I got. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this really does help. Like the information I have really could help somebody. And then to think of the financial success that I've been able to create for my family, and what somebody else can do because I'm basing it off of me not having no experience. Yes, I fought against a lot of stuff, but I'm telling you, there are some people more polished
Yeah, yeah,
out there than me and got more gift for gab and all that stuff and got more polished delivery when they talking to people. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are better at sales than I am. To be
man.
fresh, not have done this before, coming from logistics, from the other side of logistics. What I realized that it's about at the end of the day, it's about building relationships. That's what I
Okay.
realized.
All right, yeah. So, building a freight brokerage, what do you need? What is the first thing you would tell somebody they need to start with?
So to start your freight brokerage, first thing you need is foundation. You need to build a solid foundation. I would
Okay.
suggest that for anybody starting a company is to build a solid foundation. And that comes by first understanding what it is you're attempting to do. So first, learn the business first. And
Okay.
people may not like it, but I'm going to say it. The first place, because I'm going to suggest what I did. I went to the free resources.
Okay.
Now, if you're willing to go and take advantage of the free resources that's out here and watch videos and read books and get all the information you can before diving into a business, you have a much better understanding of what you're getting into. So, first is research the business first. Before
Okay.
making any type of financial investment, research the business so you understand what it is, what's required, and what you need to do. Then the next step is starting to get your legal uh, things in order to get your business started. So that's, this is a business. So, of course, LLC,
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff. And when I say LLC for a freight brokerage, you have to understand that you want to go profile before LLC. And when I say that, I mean, do not set up your business under your home address
Mm-hmm.
because you want to set up your company profile because you need to present that profile to shippers and you don't want to look like somebody that's working out of their house.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
want to look like a big business that can take care of their freight because this is not a game, it's a serious business.
Serious business.
So
Yeah.
you want to make sure profile before LLC. And once you get your LLC set up, then you go to the FMCSA and file for your authority. Once you get your
Mm-hmm.
authority, you have to get your bond, insurance, and things like that. And another part of the foundation, once you get your legal stuff set up, LLC and your authority, then you have to start looking into the technology. And the technology is what's going to run your freight brokerage.
Mm.
And and one big reason for that is because as a freight broker, you are the middleman and systems are going to run your company because you don't have to buy trucks. You don't own the pallets and the freight. So
Yeah.
you have to have the systems, and that means like your transportation management system. That's where all your loads go into. That's going to really dictate how your operations flow because all of the stuff that you do, all of the information about every load that you move needs to go into the system. So,
Mm.
and then you have to figure out how you onboard and vet your carriers. So there's different systems, technology systems that you have to piece together that's going to run your freight brokerage. And like the main ones are is your transportation management system, your load board, your carrier onboarding system, and then accounting. Because as freight brokers, whether you know it or not, one of the biggest things that we are accountants because at
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day, we don't move the freight. We're not picking up the load ourselves. So we don't ever take possession of the freight. We take possession of money. So when
Okay.
we take possession of money, because shippers pay us money for the loads that they need moved, and then we pay the truck drivers. So that's the only thing we touch in the process is the
Hmm.
money. So you have to have all your technology in place before you even think about approaching your first customer.
Got you. So, okay, you need to have a foundation. Know that
Yes,
this is something you want to do. And then
foundation
next
is
you go
first.
with your set up the legal thing of your business, maybe LLC. Your address need to be a professional address, not your home address, not your what home address. What else you need to set up the profile?
So then you go and you get your authority from the FMCSA. That's your
Okay.
freight broker authority. That gives you the authority to approach shippers and then be able to broker that load out to a courier. So you have to go to the FMCSA and get your authority. And then you have to get, while you're getting your authority, you also have to get your what's called a surety bond. So the
Mm-hmm.
bond is a requirement for you to get your authority. And most people get scared away at the bond process, but it's not as bad as people think. It's a
Mm-hmm.
75, the minimum of the bond, minimum amount of the bond is 75,000. And most people think for some reason they have to pay 75,000 to get the bond.
Yes, I remember. I had someone was telling me about the bond, like
Yeah.
$75,000. Do you need to have that money on hand?
No, man. No, 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 no. So the you just pay a percentage of it. And one tip that I'm gonna give out that helped me a whole lot is if you have any experience at all in transportation or logistics, if you worked in warehousing, anything where you dealt with freight at all, always make sure to mention your experience because it will give you a discount. Doesn't mean
Mm,
that you had to be a freight broker, but I used my experience from being a laborer all the way up, and that gave me a nice size discount. But what I'll say is shop around because our first quote was for 6,000 for our bond, and then the second, I mean, well, not the second quote, but the one we landed on ended up being 1,500. So there's a
so
lot of different
50,
service
fifteen
providers
hundred
out
for
there.
the bond
Yes,
from
yes.
$75,000.
No, it's never 75,000. So 75,000 is, so when you think about insurance, think about like how you have car insurance.
Yeah,
There's a, the premium amount of your insurance, but you don't pay that full amount, you know. So
gotcha.
this is similar to that. You just pay a percentage of it, and it holds the bond in place for a year. But they're going to base it off of your credit.
Hmm.
So when I did it, I didn't have great credit either. So my credit was around like the low 600s, and I still was able to get it for 1,500. But
Wow.
the thing is to not get knocked down from the first quote because it can like throw you off. It threw me
Hmm.
off. I mean, imagine my first quote was 6,000. I was hurt. I was like,
Yeah.
"What? $6,000?" I was like, "No, man." And then I just kept on. I kept calling. I called this place. I called that place, and I ended up getting it for 1,500. So it's possible. Again,
It is.
it's possible. Yes. But after you do your foundation, it's important to start looking at sales. You have to figure out who is your customer.
Hmm.
And a lot of people sometimes stumble here because they're like, how do I find shippers? How do I find shippers? And we have a couple different processes where we go about finding shippers. One is to use directories like online, use Google. There's so
Hmm.
many, and then social media. A lot of people don't think about LinkedIn, maybe, but LinkedIn is like a big hub for
That's
freight
right.
brokers. It's a huge hub for freight brokers and shippers. So that's a great place to be able to connect and then looking locally. Like, I drive, I heard it before, driving for dollars. You can drive for dollars as a freight broker where you can get out. And when you see an industrial park or you see a yard with materials, pipes or lumber or anything like that, that's your customer. That could be
Okay.
a potential customer. So you can mosey right on in and try to reach out and see if you can get in contact with a decision maker from the transportation department. And The thing is, like I said, it's about building relationships. So
Mm.
go right in for the kill and you're trying to get the load right away, they're gonna snuff you out. They're gonna snuff you out. They're gonna be
Yeah.
like, look, this guy is all about the load. He's just trying to, I got plenty of people that's calling me about loads. No, I'm gonna ask you about the football game. Like let's
Okay.
talk about something else. Let's build a
Yeah.
relationship so I can, figure out because I want the long haul. I want the 2 years. I want the 3 years. I want as long as you
Mm.
here, buddy. I want to be
Yeah.
your transportation guy. So
Gotcha.
it's not about just calling and just trying to get
Get a
one
load
load.
and that's it. It's the relationship.
And that's what a lot of people stumble at. And that's why a lot of people are like,
Mm.
man, I can't get nothing because you're calling and you're like, I'm trying to get low, trying to get low. Yeah, okay. It don't work like
Mm.
that. Yeah.
Gotcha, man. That's powerful. Now, I know you teach people how to get into the business. So, how long is your program?
Okay, so we have a couple different offers. This is new. So everybody that's listening, I've been a freight broker. I've been a transportation guy for years. Working in this space where we selling digital products and things is new, so just understand that we coming from a completely genuine standpoint where we really just trying to help people win and trying to provide value. So we do have a monthly mentorship that's a full week program where you get a call with me weekly, and you also get daily access where anything you got going on, you just reach out to me. But the course is laid out to where it could be customized to whatever you want to cover, whatever your
Hmm.
concerns are. But we also have a blueprint that we'll walk you through if you like to just follow the blueprint. And then we have a course. We have an online course that's self-paced, and it has tons of resources in it. This one that you can just dive in and take your time, go through it, and you have lifetime access to the course. And it also
Hmm.
gives you access to our community. And then we also have offers like ebooks. We have an ebook that's on how to start your freight brokerage because a lot of people will they come to me, that's the first thing they say. It's like, how do I get started? How do I get started? So sometimes it's best to make that lower investment initially just to see if you want to do it or not.
Yeah.
So we also have our ebook that's a low cost but has plenty of value, and it shows you how to get started. So those are a few things that we have to offer. We're also going to be starting some classes pretty soon, but don't want to move too fast. But we
Okay.
do have the mentorship, our course, and our ebook available now.
That's powerful. So let's say a brand new person, knowing nothing about transportation, and they say 2024, I need to have my business going on, and they choose freight brokerage. So, what advice would you give to a person like that?
Well, first thing my first piece of advice would be is to make the commitment. So research first and make the commitment because that's
Hmm.
where I started at. I did the research first and I made the commitment to say, well, this is what I know that I'm going to do, and this is where I'm
Okay.
focusing at, and I'm not going to stray away. I know that it's a legitimate business that has plenty of potential.
Hmm.
So I made the decision. That was the first thing. That's the first step. Make the decision and make the commitment to not stray and not waver and plant your feet down
Hmm.
and dive in. That's
So,
the
in
first place
total, how much money would you need to
to get
s- to s-
started.
yes, to set up the business?
Yeah. So to get started, you can start with under $5,000.
Okay.
So for your all your legal side will be around 30, I would say around 4,000. So
Okay.
to get your bond is 300, but then to get well, I'm sorry, not your bond, but your authority is 300.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the cost to set up your business. So as far as LLC, that may be 3 to 400, depending on
Yeah.
who you go through. Your bond is actually going to range, of course. So I would say on the low, and it'll be around 1,500 for your bond. And then insurance. Now, insurance is one that you can opt to wait because it's not a requirement. We did get insurance up front, so that was another $1,500. And then the other half of that is, I mean, not the other half, but is your technology package that'll cost
Mm-hmm.
you around between 700 and 1,000. So
Okay.
it's about 4,000 for all your legal stuff to get set up as far as your LLC, your bond, your insurance, all that stuff is going to be around 4,000. And then your technology package will be around $1,000.
Mm. Got it. So a person decides to work with you.
Yep.
What promise can you make to a person like that?
Yes. So my guarantee is that if you come to work with us, we're going to show you 100% how to set up a solid foundation, how to find and identify your target market, and then how to move the load. That's the load movement process. Because once a customer agrees to work with you, then you have to provide the service.
Yeah.
So we show you the foundation, where to get started at, and this is like, because it's only going off of my experience. All I can do is go off of my experience. So we're going to show you full proof where to start, best way to start, best way to build your foundation, where to find your customers, and then how to move the load. And when you leave from us, you will have that information for sure that you can go out and run a successful freight brokerage.
Got it. So what they will need is to be able to put themselves out there and to do the marketing part of it.
Yeah, with it. So of course you'll need the financial piece,
Hmm.
and so because you have to, a lot of this that you're doing is going to be before you make any money. So when they say in business, you got to make money, you got to
Yeah.
spend money to make money. You have to set up your business first,
Yeah.
and you have to be in position to even take in funds. So that means you have to have all your systems in place. But yeah, so you definitely want to, you want to have everything set so that you can approach customers and they'll be able to pay you, and you can complete the transaction.
That's powerful, man.
Yep.
Because the information you gave here will someone can just take it and start their business,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Because this video is packed with gems information that you just gave away. So that no, I mean I'm excited. That's powerful.
Yep. Man, I'm
Um,
I'm I'm glad you had me on, man. I'm definitely glad you had me
no,
on for
man.
sure.
That's good. Hopefully, we could do an event together, or get you on an event where you're
Absolutely.
coming, because it's almost an hour. Well, about an hour here, and I know you have more information to.
Oh man, yeah. You know it. You know it. Like it's a lot of stories in there. It's a lot of stories in there. Just I could think of, and just think of the 4 jobs. I was laid off from my last 4 jobs and then started and running $1 million business. So
Yeah,
it's a lot to unravel in there that
that's
could definitely can't fit within an hour.
no, that's powerful, man. So I don't know, man. Any other information you would like to share with the people, or
Yeah, I would say, for one, of course, entrepreneurship is not easy at all. Anybody that's
yeah.
looking to get into it, you have to understand that, this is not an easy thing to do. You're not, you're taking the hard road. But one thing with that is, long as you stick to it and you know where you're trying to go and you stay determined, this will give you the highest reward. So you just got to stick with it, be committed, and just don't give up. When things get rough, don't give up. Keep
Mm-hmm.
pushing. You will make it because
You'll
it's
make it.
possible.
It's
It's
possible,
possible.
man.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Man, that's a lot, man. That's good. That's good. So yeah, let me go over it again. You have your foundation. You set up your legal thing of your business, LLC, whatever. Don't use your home address. All right. So then you go get your bond, your authority. Get your authority, and then the bond, and what else I'm missing? And then that it would be the marketing part of it. Then.
So with your bond, once it's some little stuff that not really is all that big, but you'll have to, with your authority, you'll have to get what's called a BOC3, which is a document. For processing. It's another legal
Okay.
document, legal filing. But you do your BOC3 is another one called a UCR, Unified Carrier Registration. These are all small. They don't cost a lot of money to
Okay.
file these registrations. But yes, foundation, then you'll find your customer. So you start with your foundation, you find your customer, and then you have to move the load. That's the
Yeah.
three main pieces of the freight brokerage industry. If you put it into three categories, you have to build a solid foundation before you reach out to any customer. You got
Mm-hmm.
to get your footing right, because when you reach out to them, you want to look like you've been
You
operating
got to
for
be
20.
ready.
Right. You don't want to look like a new freight broker when
Yeah.
you approach
Yeah.
them. You want to look like you've been doing this for a while, even though you just started. So you want to make sure you take your time and build a solid foundation. And then don't be scattered and just looking and trying to ship freight for everybody. The
Mm.
best way to learn and to grow is to focus on one lane and understand, okay, I know how to move lumber. I know how to move what, cereal. I know how to move ice cream, whatever it is. I
Okay.
know how to
So
move
these are
this
the
really
lanes
good.
you're talking about, right?
Yeah, just different commodities. Learn and get it, find a niche. You want to find a niche,
Mm-hmm.
something that you specialize in, something that your company specializes in. Or you have, even if it's retail, it could be clothing. You like to, it just have to find a lane so you're not scattered. So you can
Mm.
learn as much as you can about that specific. That doesn't mean that you don't have to move other freight too, but when you have mastered something, you become an expert at moving lumber. When you get on
Mm.
the phone with a new lumber shipper, you have a different
You know
conversation.
what you're talking about.
You know what you're
Yeah.
talking about because you spent
Yeah.
some time trying to focus on lumber. Now, if you come in as a freight broker, as a new freight broker, and you like trying to do this, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do, how are you learning anything? Because you scattered, you're all over the place.
Yeah.
So it's better to focus on the niche, and this is, so that you can become an expert in that. And when you call a new customer in that same area, in that same commodity, they can tell you know what you're talking about.
You know. That's good. That's
So
good.
that's a part of, the second part, finding the customer. Who do you want to talk to? Who do you want to work with? Because you have the control over your book of business.
Mhm.
That you may come across a customer that's shipping loads overnight. Maybe you don't want to have to manage that overnight shipping.
Okay. Yeah.
So you get to control all of that. So you need to search out your customers and find out which type of customers you want to work with. And then you really need, once as that's happening, once you get your customers and they actually give you a load, that's one of the, like, that's an anxiety piece. I went through it.
You gotta
Like,
move
oh,
it.
I got something. What do I do now?
Yeah.
So if you don't know it, how do you like, where do you get the information from? So it's good to be able to reach out and tap into. I mean, I've definitely um believe in this now more than I have ever, that it's value and getting with somebody who's done it before.
Yeah, so but now you have the experience. How do you
Now,
get your truckers?
oh, so you get truckers. So really, when I say freight brokers are the plug, that's one of the reasons why I say freight brokers are the plug, because when you have the freight, trucks come to you in a sense.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you have the freight, if you have the loads, truckers are always looking for good loads,
Mm,
always looking for good paying loads. So one thing that you will have to go through as a new freight broker is new carriers and building your carrier base, building your trucker base up. So the way you do that is by the load boards. This is another part of the systems. As a
okay.
freight broker, you need these systems. So another system that you're going to have is a load board. Now, a load board for a freight broker, it may sound like, oh, that's where freight brokers go to get loads. No, that's where freight brokers will advertise the loads that they have.
Okay.
So I take my loads that I got from Target and I put them on the load board that broadcasts my load to thousands of trucks.
So that's where the dispatchers get
That's
in.
where dispatchers will go onto the load board and then they'll call me or another broker that has a load posted and say, hey, I want to get this load.
Gotcha.
So that's why the freight broker is the plug, because
Yeah.
I got the loads from Costco or whoever, and I got them in my possession right now. As far as digitally, they're my loads, and
Wow.
as long as I have them for a fair rate, I can put them on the market on this load board, and I will get calls coming in to me to
Man,
cover my loads. So that's why it's like, as far as getting trucks, a lot of people are concerned when they start in their freight brokerage about, how do I find trucks? How do I get the trucks? If you're doing it right and you have the right type of work, trucks will
they
come
find
to
you.
you. Yes.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So, for example, Target, to get a load from Target, you would need to get with the right person. You cannot just pick up a phone and
That
start
is
calling.
very true. Very true. So, and it's a very good point that you bring up, because here's the thing. Um, So a lot of people will get into business and go after big shippers. They'll target, not target, but they'll go after the big shippers. Like,
Hmm.
they'll look specifically to go and work with the big shippers. But you have to think of the industry as a whole. There are some very large trucking companies out here and some very large freight brokerages out here. So you have to understand who's your competition too.
Yeah.
Now, when you're going to these bigger shippers, there's a lot more involved with getting set up. So, one strategy for us, because we were a small company, we went after small shippers because there's a definite need there as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we found that it was much faster to get in, and they, in a lot of different situations, they pay better
Okay.
than the bigger companies. So while we chasing the bigger companies know that they have that leverage, that they're the big company.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, if you want to work for us and get 100 loads a day, you're gonna have to take them for this rate, for maybe a lower rate than
Hmm.
the smaller shippers. Like, well, I'll pay more because I really need this to move.
Powerful, man. That no, we'll leave the rest for the chorus.
Yeah, man. I
Yeah.
could. So it's different, when you get into something like, when you like, this is what I've been doing, so I can go
Yeah.
on and on and on this, man. I like, this is my thing.
That's powerful, man. That's good, man. I can only thank you for being on the show because that's a lot of value, for the
Absolutely.
people who watch. And we don't want to be responsible for people who don't start their own business, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly, exactly. That's the
yeah,
whole thing. When you want it, you will go a whole lot harder to get it.
yeah, yeah. So powerful, man. Any last word?
I, my main thing is it's all about what you want. That
Okay.
that's my last word. It's all about, and that's something that I've been riding on for a very long time. I carry that through my marriage. I carry that through my life. It's about what you want, because the
Mm-hmm.
things that you really want, you will do what you need to do to make sure you have them.
That's powerful. And identify your pressures. If you don't have pressures, man, get some pressure to push you.
Yes. Yes. Yes, bro. That is so true. I like that. I like the way you said that. Get some pressures.
Get some pressure.
Get some pressures, man. You gotta get some pressures,
Yeah.
because, and it's funny because I do this. I actually do it to myself still now. I put myself in pressure situations.
Yeah, you can't be
Still to the day.
comfortable, man. You can't be comfortable.
Can't
Man,
get
that's
comfortable.
powerful, man. That's powerful.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. Thank you so
Yeah,
much for being on the show. I know
absolutely.
you'll come back, because
Yeah,
yeah, I know the people will have some questions and you may come back to answer their questions. But that
absolutely.
this right here, man, it's powerful. Because I know this will answer the questions of many people who've been trying to get into trucking, whatever. They didn't even know where to start. So that there are also a lot of questions they have. All right, man. Well, thank you again, and everybody for watching the video today. It's possible, and peace.